to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Britain's newsroom, and we're shortly going to go across to Prime Minister's questions live from the House of Commons.
Yeah, I mean, there are a number of issues. I mean, the cost of living is always a good area, Miriam. But I just sense the government is in chaos over immigration and asylum. And this revelation that Mark White broke on this programme, that they paid that Ethiopian sex offender £500 to go on the plane quietly, is shocking.
It is absolutely shocking use of public money. And there are the three main stories that we've covered today are all linked, aren't they? So we've got the increased raids on illegal working, which is a good thing, but still a drop in the ocean. We've got this appalling murder and triple stabbing in Uxbridge by somebody who came over on a lorry, not a small boat. And
came here illegally and was allowed to stay.
Allowed to stay, given asylum. And then, as you said, Hadush Gabatu, who has finally been deported, having been wrongly released from prison, but paid to go across. And the linking theme is that the Home Office is struggling to keep track of people who've come here illegally, they don't know where they are. Even when they do know where they are, they're struggling to either prosecute or deport them. I mean, that surely is what the Deputy Prime Minister, Leader of the Opposition, that's what I was searching for, should go on.
I'd have thought so. And I think her performances have been better of late, actually. She's picked the right subjects and she's been forensic. And he isn't great at the dispatch box, is he?
No, and a lot of it is about confidence. And it is quite an intimidating environment, the House of Commons. The chamber is a lot smaller than it appears on your screens. And when you're in there, and especially when it's packed, because for most of the week there may be only 50 or 60 MPs in the chamber, but they're probably over 400, perhaps even 500, squeezed in there. Only 350 can be seated or so. So it's very, very tightly packed. And the noise of MPs heckling, shouting, even just shuffling to find their seats is very intimidating. And if you don't have that confidence, that surety that you're hitting the nail on the head, that you can respond quickly, even if you can't necessarily hear what's being said on the other side, it can be quite difficult to look the part.
I agree. And if you're listening on the radio, the Prime Minister is now in his seat on the front bench. He doesn't look terribly cheerful because, of course, he doesn't know what Badenoch is going to challenge him on. And, of course, the Lib Dem leader. And I think there's a chance that Reform will get a question today too. There is talk that Nigel Farage might be called because you only get called, as you know, Miriam, according to how many MPs you've got, and Reform are just 5.
That's right.
So they get nothing like the number of questions the Lib Dems get, who are 72 MPs.
And I think we were saying earlier that it's quite a difficult week for the Prime Minister. There have been some bad headlines, but He's got 3.5 years to go. And you were saying earlier, Andrew, that perhaps they're realising that government is a heck of a lot harder than it looks from opposition. And yet they've got to keep up this for another 3.5 years, try to force some sorts of changes through their backbenchers that will give us an economic upturn. But it's not looking likely at the moment.
No, they seem to be lurching from one disaster to another. And remember, they had a reset. Do you remember the reset? Was that at the beginning of September? And it unravelled immediately. Why did it unravel? What fell apart? Why did it fall apart? I can't even remember. But
And yesterday at the Reform press conference, I think it was Danny Kruger was saying that when he was talking to a constituent, the chap said to him, Labour and the Conservatives, they both think they're the grown-ups and they should be in charge. But actually, all we've had for the past, well, possibly even 20 years, really, is that governments come and go as the electoral cycle moves on, but actually what has changed fundamentally?
I know, and I think we're now just going to the Prime Minister. I think we are.
Mr. Speaker, the scenes of destruction emerging from Jamaica are truly shocking. Both the Foreign Secretary and I have been in close contact with our Jamaican counterparts in recent days to offer the UK's full support. Mr. Speaker, I can update the House that HMS Trent and Specialist Rapid Deployment Teams are pre-positioned in the region, and we stand ready to provide humanitarian support. Mr. Speaker, Awab Ishaq died 5 years ago from a respiratory condition caused by exposure to black mould in his flat in Rochdale. He was just 2 years old. No child should grow up without the safety and security of a decent home. For far too long, millions of people have lived at the mercy of rogue landlords and insecure contracts. Labour is ending that. Despite the best efforts of the Tories and Reform who voted against it, our Renters' Rights Act is now law, including Awab's law. Fighting for working people, that's the difference a Labour government makes. And on that issue, Mr. Speaker, this government has secured the biggest deal to manufacture Typhoon fighter jets in this country for almost 20 years. We secured that deal because the UK is back as a leading and trusted member of NATO. A timely reminder for the Green Party, whose policy is to take us out of NATO, the Putin-friendly Reform Party, who would have no standing with NATO, and for the leader of the opposition, you don't win NATO deals by not turning up to NATO summits. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Nick Smith.
Mr. Speaker, can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about supporting Jamaica? Across our country and in Blaenau Gwent and Rumney, off-road bikers are a menace. They tear up our environment and turn our streets into racetracks. After years of Tory cuts, Gwent police are tackling this now. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that police forces and communities like mine are seeing the difference that Labour can make in power?
I share my honourable friend's determination that everyone feels safe and secure in their community. Neighbourhood policing was decimated by the party opposite, and we're restoring it with 3,000 extra officers by spring. We're also giving them the powers, Mr. Speaker, they need, including tough new respect orders that allow the police to seize and destroy vehicles within 48 hours. The Tories walked through the lobbies with Reform in voting against our crime and policing bill.
The opposition, Kemi Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last year, in its manifesto, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the Leader of the Opposition is now finally talking about the economy. I can update the House, Mr. Speaker. Retail sales are higher than expected. Inflation is lower than expected. Growth has been upgraded this year. And, Mr. Speaker, the UK stock market is at an all-time high. The budget is on the 26th of November, and we will lay out our plans. But I can tell the House now that we will build a stronger economy, we will cut NHS waiting lists and deliver a better future for our country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, yes. What a fascinating answer. It is not the same answer that I received when I asked exactly the same question, word for word, on the 9th of July. Then the Prime Minister replied with just one word, yes, and then he sat down with a smug grin on his face. What's changed in the past 4 months?
Mr. Speaker, as she well knows, no Prime Minister or Chancellor will ever set out their plans in advance. But, Mr. Speaker, I can say this, Mr. Speaker, because the figures on the productivity review being undertaken, this is a judgment on their record in office. Those figures are now coming through, and they confirm that the Tories did even more damage to the economy than we previously thought. Now, we will turn that around. We've already delivered the fastest growth in the G7 in the first half of this year. 5 interest rate cuts in a row. Trade deals with the US, EU and India. They broke the economy. We're fixing it.
Mr. Speaker, he says no Prime Minister or Chancellor will say these things before the budget. Has he told his Chancellor? Because she's been out there flying kites, causing constant speculation around the budget that is damaging the economy. All week, they've been briefing about tax rises. What we've heard is that he does not have a plan. So we have some ideas for him. Yes. Yesterday, they can... Mr. Speaker, it's quite clear that they need some ideas. Yes. On this side of the House, we believe in scrapping taxes on family homes. Yesterday, we voted to abolish stamp duty. They voted against it. Even the Deputy Prime Minister, or the former Deputy Prime Minister, who resigned in disgrace for not paying stamp duty, voted to keep it. So, Mr. Speaker, I will remind them, on this side of the House, we know that abolishing stamp duty is how we get young people on the housing ladder and get the economy growing. So why won't he scrap this terrible tax?
Why didn't they do it then in 14 years in office? Mr. Speaker, as I said, the productivity review figures are now coming in, and they show the true extent of the damage that they did. And she asked us to take advice from them. We all know these figures are coming out. We all know that austerity damaged the economy on their watch. The botched Brexit deal damaged the economy on their watch. Liz Truss's mini-budget damaged the economy on their watch. So we'll take no lectures or advice from them on the economy. They won't be trusted on the economy for generations to come. And Mr. Speaker, that's why at our budget, I can be clear, there will be no return to austerity. That's what broke the country. No return to the instability of their mad borrowing spree. And we'll end the unfairness and low growth that squeeze living standards for working people. That's the path to national renewal.
Mr. Speaker, Conservatives reduced the deficit every year until the pandemic. We more than doubled the personal allowance. We left 4 million more jobs than we found from Labour. We brought inflation down to 2%. It's nearly double.
Mr. Tufnell, you're in my sights. The pantomime season has arrived, so don't start it too early.
Mr. Speaker, on our record, we brought inflation down to 2%. It has doubled under him. We left him the fastest growing economy in the G7. It is no longer. The truth is, they have no ideas. We're giving them some. There is another way to get growth. It's cutting welfare spending and getting people into work. Last month, I offered to work cross-party with him to bring down welfare spending, because he knows, and we know, that he'd rather dip into people's pockets than upset those people behind him. Instead of tax rises, will he work with us to find a way to cut welfare spending and get Britain working again?
Mr. Speaker, she talks about their record. Let's go through it. They crashed the economy. Inflation went up to 11%. Mortgages went through the roof. Welfare spending went up £33 billion on them, and they want to give advice. And they reduced the UK to a laughing stock. Because of our budget, Mr. Speaker, waiting lists have come down, wages are up, mortgage rates are down, and other countries want to do deals with us. Just on Monday of this week, the Turkish government signed an £8 billion deal for typhoons. Earlier this year, the Norway government a £10 billion for frigates. That is because of the budget that we passed, fixing the mess that they left.
Mr. Speaker, it's not because of the budget that he passed. I started that deal back in January 2024. But and I welcome it. There are some things, Mr. Speaker, it's got nothing to do with their budget. We're lucky it's still happening. So I welcome the £8 billion deal that he's done with Turkey, but I will remind him that just last month, his Chancellor borrowed £20 billion. He'll have to sell a hell of a lot more jets to make up for that. And he won't rule out any tax rises. He can't cut spending. He is increasing unemployment. This man knows nothing about economic growth except how to destroy it. In his weakness, Mr. Speaker, he has caved into the unions with their regulations that will cripple businesses, costing them £5 billion every year. Yes, please do speak up, because I want every single business out there to hear Labour MPs heckling when we talk about the damage that they are doing. So I ask the Prime Minister, how on earth can he consider adding more burdens for these firms to deal with?
Mr. Speaker, she's overlooked the fact that we had the highest growth in the G7 the first 6 months of this year, and that growth's just been upgraded. 3 interest rate cuts. Mr. Speaker, we're not going to take lessons from them. She's now introduced what I understand to be, I think she calls it a golden economic rule, this golden rule that she's now putting forward, very golden. £47 billion, Mr. Speaker, of unspecified spending cuts, with no detail whatsoever. Mr. Speaker, let me put that in context. That would be 85,000 fewer nurses, 234,000 fewer teachers, or cutting every police officer in the country twice over. No wonder the Institute for Government said she's on shaky foundations. That's exactly what caused the problem in the first place.
Mr. Speaker, the fact that he has to stand there and make stuff up just shows what kind of Prime Minister he is. We had an itemised list. We had an itemised list of 47 billion. 23 billion was on welfare spending, which I asked him to work with us to cut. He refuses to do so. All he knows how to do is tax, tax, tax. If you work, they tax you more. If you save, they tax you more. If you buy a home, they tax you more. None of these taxes were in the manifesto, which he had 4 years to prepare. Mr. Speaker, he's raising taxes because he is too weak to control spending. He's blaming us, he's blaming the OBR. Last week they were blaming Brexit. Isn't the truth that with this Prime Minister, it's always someone else's fault?
Yeah. They were kicked out of office because they broke the economy. They won't be trusted for years to come. She can't tell us what position is on the last budget, and she's got a phantom £47 billion with no foundation as we go forward. That's exactly the mess that they caused. They've not changed one bit. Meanwhile, we're fixing their mess. 5 million extra NHS appointments, 5 interest rate cuts, growth and wages up. That's a change the Labour government made.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As Palestinians try and rebuild their lives amid the rubble of Gaza, like once again dozens of innocent people were killed by Israeli airstrikes. What will the UK do, along with our international partners, to hold the Netanyahu government to account for its actions? And what more can we do to ensure that aid gets in, as the IDF blocks aid in breach of both the peace agreement and international law?
Well, I thank him for raising this, and I'm deeply concerned, Mr. Speaker, by the strikes, and that underlines the fragility of the ceasefire deal. All sides need to uphold President Trump's peace plan. It is the only route to long-term peace for Israelis and Palestinians. We are, of course, in close touch with the US and regional allies, pushing for de-escalation. Mr. Speaker, the scale of destruction in Gaza is unimaginable. The immediate priority remains getting aid in at speed and the volume needed. Thank you.
We come to the Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I associate myself with what the Prime Minister said about Jamaica and indeed all those islands and countries affected by Hurricane Melissa? Our thoughts and prayers are with all those affected. And I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in paying tribute to Prunella Scales, Mr. Speaker. I suspect I'm not the only member of the House with a Fawlty Towers DVD box set. She will be greatly missed. Mr. Speaker, across Europe, in countries like Poland, Germany and France, we've seen evidence of dangerous Russian interference in their politics. Last month, the former leader of a major party in Wales pleaded guilty to taking bribes to make pro-Russian statements. The evidence shows Nathan Gill was a close confidant of the current Reform Party leader for years. So does the Prime Minister agree with me that it's time we had an in-depth investigation into Russian meddling and money in British politics?
Joining his comments on Prunella Scales, and on this question of Russian interference, it is a serious problem in countries across Europe, including in our country, where it's a constant threat. And Mr. Speaker, for NATO allies, the conflict in Ukraine and dealing with Russian aggression is the #1 issue. And that is why I have to say the Reform Party would be an absolute disaster for our defence. We are a trusted member of NATO. We wouldn't be a trusted member if we were Putin friendly. We are leading the coalition of the willing, giving security and comfort to 30 other countries that would collapse under reform because they're Putin friendly, and it'd be a real threat to our defence and our security.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful for the Prime Minister's reply, and I agree with him on Ukraine, but I do hope he will look at an investigation into this Russian interference in our politics. Mr. Speaker, last week I questioned how he can accept the damage of Brexit while refusing to do anything meaningful about it. The damage is clear, with the Financial Times reporting that lower productivity growth alone has blown a £20 billion black hole in the public finances, just part of the Brexit black hole that Conservatives and Reform will not apologise for. Last week, he rejected my plan for a new customs union. So can I ask him what action he will take to change the Brexit deal, or is he just planning to complain about it?
Well, he must have overlooked the fact that there was a UK-EU summit earlier this year in which there were 10 strands to the change that we've already agreed in relation to relationship with the EU, including closer trading relationships, including closer work on defence and security, and that is an iterative process that we will continue into next year. But he's absolutely right about the botched deal of the last government, the damage that's done to our economy, and we're just seeing some of the figures coming through in relation to that. That's one of the reasons, or one of the factors behind the way they crashed the economy.
Jonathan Brash.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Football is a game based on fairness, yet brilliant clubs that unite communities every week, like Hartlepool, are being held back by a fundamental unfairness. The 3-Up campaign, backed by 72 National League clubs, including Hartlepool United, and championed by Hartlepool legend Jeff Stelling, seeks to grant a third promotion place from the National League to League 2. This simple change will be transformational for these historic clubs, many of which are over a century old. Now, while I accept Arsenal may never directly benefit from such a change, does the Prime Minister agree that this campaign to put football first would help the new football regulator protect club heritage, ensure stability and put fairness and fans back at the heart of our game?
Well, can I start by wishing Hartlepool United the best for this season? He will appreciate the structure of the leagues is a matter for leagues themselves, but I do commend his campaign and everything that he's putting behind it. I also want to pay tribute to the staff, the fans and the players at Sheffield Wednesday at this difficult time. Mr. Speaker, we've delivered the independent football regulator to stand up for fans and make sure clubs have fit and proper owners. The party opposite used to support that, but now they oppose it.
Gavin Robinson.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has a deep understanding of policing in Northern Ireland and the importance of it. He knows about the ongoing national security threat. Indeed, he knows about the additional costs of dealing with the legacy of our past, and he knows that the PSNI has been underfunded. He knows that the Northern Ireland Executive have rightly brought forward a stability programme for them. He knows that they are under strength because New Decade, New Approach in 2020 suggested there should be 7,500 police officers in Northern Ireland. Today there are 6,200. But does he know that the Treasury did not look favourably upon a request to draw upon the reserves for a data breach cost of £120 million? Does he recognise that in Treasury terms That incident was unpredictable, it was unforeseeable, it's unaffordable. It matches the criteria that the Treasury have. To set aside that money in a year would be 10% of the overall PSNI budget. It is not affordable. Can I ask him, in engagement with the Chancellor, to think about this issue again and to ensure that our police service of Northern Ireland and the national security threat that they face is not hampered by in-year financial rules?
Well, can I thank him for raising this important issue, and I know it is of real concern to him. Can I reassure him that I am in regular contact with the Chief Constable, John Boucher, and the PSNI on this very issue, as he would expect. As he's aware, we provided a record settlement for the Executive, £19.3 billion per year on average. We also invested £113 million in additional security funding for the PSNI to help address specific security challenges. Now, whilst it's for the Executive to set the PSNI budget, I want to reassure him that our commitment is to keeping people safe in Northern Ireland.
Alan Stritton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm speaking on behalf of my constituents, Shannon and Tyler, who lost their 2-year-old son, Hudson, earlier this year. Worried about their son and calling 111, they were told he had gastroenteritis. In fact, Hudson had a twisted bowel and a few days later, after being rushed to hospital, tragically died. Mr. Speaker, Shannon and Tyler are full of praise for the NHS medical staff who worked so hard to save their son's life. They just wish they'd been offered an in-person appointment sooner, which might have given a more accurate diagnosis. They want Hudson's legacy to be better access to face-to-face NHS appointments for children under 5, so other families don't face this tragic situation, and their online petition on this matter has gained over 80,000 signatures. Will the Prime Minister join me in sending the best wishes of this House to Hudson's family? And will he ensure they meet a health minister to discuss their courageous campaign?
Well, can I thank him for raising this tragic case? And I'm sure I speak for the whole House in saying we send our sympathies and thoughts to Hudson's parents, Shannon and Tyler. And I'll make sure that they get the meeting that he's asking for. This is exactly why we're working to improve access to face-to-face appointments for those that want one. And to enable that, we've delivered the largest cash uplift for GPs in a decade, put over 2,500 GPs into general practice, and we're upgrading 1,000 surgeries to deliver 8 million more appointments.
James McMurdo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week, I got to see the very best and some of the worst of our National Health Service. When my own daughter needed them, they were there. But when an 89-year-old gentleman in the restaurant I was eating in collapsed, it took over an hour and 15 minutes between my first call and the arrival of 2 exhausted paramedics. Basildon Hospital has just been downgraded to inadequate, the latest Care Quality Commission. Can I please invite the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, or the Prime Minister herself if he has time in his schedule, to come and visit Basildon with me so we can both thank them for the exceptional work they do, but also get to grips with the problems they're facing.
Can I thank you for raising this case and the 2 examples that he's given. The downgrade at Basildon Hospital is deeply disappointing. The Care Quality Commission has set out immediate actions for the Trust leaders to deliver improvements. Our decisions in government have seen £26 billion boost for our NHS, helping deliver over 5 million extra appointments. I would gently point out that he was elected representing a reform party that would dismantle our NHS and charge people to see their doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Reform say they stand up for the working class, but the truth is they never have. No. They voted to block the Employment Rights Bill again and again. So does the Prime Minister agree that it's only this government on the side of working people? It's Labour creating tens of thousands of jobs, like with our deal with Turkey. It's Labour getting rid of 0 hours contracts, and it's Labour protecting workers from unfair dismissal from day one.
I'm proud that we delivered the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation, and the Tories and Reform vote against it at every turn, as they always do with any form of workers' rights and protections. And in relation to the deal that we struck on Monday, Mr. Speaker, with Turkey, that is a deal worth £8 billion, 20,000 jobs, 10 years of work in manufacturing with the typhoons. That is only possible because we're a trusted member of NATO, and Reform have been an absolute nightmare on defence because they would not be a trusted member of NATO because they're Putin friendly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Targets for cancer patients beginning treatment within 62 days hasn't been met by any NHS trusts for 10 years, a legacy of the last Conservative government. If this target had been met in every month of 2025, so far nearly 3,000 breast cancer patients would have started their treatment on time. Will the Prime Minister ensure that the National Cancer Plan, which I asked for a year ago, makes it possible for the 62-day target to be met, along with recruiting much-needed cancer specialists and replacing outdated equipment?
Well, I thank him for raising this, and I know this is personal to him. We are investing £600 million to improve diagnostic capacity and rolling out new radiotherapy machines, including in his local trust, I'm pleased to say. We have seen real improvements. 148,000 more people now have cancer diagnosed or ruled out within 28 days, but I acknowledge there is more to do on this. The National Cancer Plan will set out how we will go further and deliver the best care for every patient.
Mr. Speaker, the big four banks have been allowed to abandon our high streets, basically closing them with impunity. Between 1999 and 2025, my constituency alone has lost banks at Guiphurst, Newbigin-by-the-Sea, Bedlington and Blyth. In this, Mr. Speaker, as at the same time, these banks made more than £40 billion profit in last year alone. They're absolutely drowning in cash. The manifesto pledge to roll out 350 banking hubs is to be welcomed, but its quirky, almost bizarre qualifying criteria needs detailed revision. Will the Prime Minister commit to a wholesale review of personal face-to-face banking, which would enable local residents and local businesses, alongside many vulnerable people, to access their own money in their own time on their own high street?
Well, can I thank you for raising this? And I know how important face-to-face banking is on our high streets. We have committed, as he says, to rolling out 350 banking hubs across the United Kingdom. Over 180 are already open. I want to reassure him that 350 is not the limit. While decisions over hubs are taken independently, they can be rolled out wherever a community needs one. And I'm happy to make sure relevant Minister follows up with details for him.
I will.
Mr. Speaker, I'm proud that the last government introduced the triple lock and we're committed to keeping it. But from...
The problem is, one or two, you're trying to catch my eye. If we don't get through, you won't get a chance, might one?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was a great achievement of the last government, and we will be keeping it. But from April, pensioners with private pensions as low as £2 a month will be paying income tax for the first time. Now, last year's budget, the Chancellor was clear that extending the freeze on personal allowances would breach their manifesto commitment. So will the Prime Minister prove the media speculation wrong, keep his promise and guarantee that there will be no extension to the freeze on personal allowances?
The freeze was introduced by them. That's why it's coming in next year.
Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member for West Suffolk, when he was an official, produced a devastating report on the Home Office. Reading it, it shows the department characterised by disarray and defeatism. There have been 12 Home Secretaries over the last 30 years, some better than others, but none have managed to get this department in order to deliver the services that people should expect in this country. Will the Prime Minister give the new Home Secretary the necessary resources and policy interventions to make sure that she can be successful?
Yes, she's bearing down on the challenges at the Home Office, most of them inherited from the last government, and we will make the changes necessary, and I have every confidence in the Secretary of State to do so.
Baron of the House, Sir Edward Lee.
After all the hatreds in the world today, wasn't it a lovely moment to see the King and the Pope pray together in the Sistine Chapel? Doesn't it give us hope that these historic divisions can be resolved? And doesn't it give us hope that despite the fact that Ukraine and Gaza may seem intractable problems, if we have the will to preserve the freedom of all people to live in their own country, and if we have the will to have faith in our common humanity, these problems can be resolved and we can win through.
Can I agree with him? I thought the King and the Pope praying together was an incredible message to the world and very, very powerful. And I agree with him that if we all work together, we can actually bring people together, notwithstanding the very many difficulties and challenges that poses around the world and in our own country. It's why, so far as we can, we should be uniting on national patriotic renewal in this country, rather than the toxic division that we see on some of the benches opposite.
Daniel Zeitner.
Mr. Speaker, Cambridge is one of the most intensive science and innovation sectors clusters in the world, and that success is based on openness to talent. Now, at the moment, in many American universities, there are many well-qualified people pondering their futures. What a fantastic opportunity, but it is a global competition. So can I ask the Prime Minister what our government is doing to make their destination of choice the United Kingdom?
Well, my honourable friend's constituency is just one example of why the United Kingdom is a world leader in educating and attracting the brightest minds. Our immigration white paper includes changes to make sure more of the world's best graduates and entrepreneurs start their careers and their businesses here. Mr. Speaker, we're also boosting our R&D sector with more than £86 billion, making sure we continue to attract the best and the brightest.
Alison Griggs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Last weekend, I spoke to Paul, who runs Bar Humbug Sweets in Littlehampton. And yesterday, I heard from Matt, a tech entrepreneur whose British company employs thousands worldwide. Their businesses couldn't be more different, but they both told me the same thing. This government is piling on new taxes, regulation and costs that make it harder to create jobs, invest and grow. So when will the Prime Minister stop choking opportunity and start backing the people who create jobs in the first place?
Well, Mr. Speaker, our small business plan was widely welcomed by small businesses across the country, not least because of their input into it. But she complains about the measures we had to take at the last budget, including national insurance. It says chose to take. They still can't say whether they'd reverse them. They know nothing about the damage they did to our economy.
Janet Davey.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm wearing all black today, and that's to demonstrate my sorrow due to a fatal stabbing that took place in my constituency yesterday. Now, we all know that one death is one death far too many, but I've had 2 deaths in my constituency in the last few weeks. My community needs reassurance. Knife crime must end. Can the Prime Minister say what more his government is doing to tackle knife crime?
Well, can I thank her for raising these tragic cases which have a huge impact on families, friends and communities. And I know that she's a passionate and dedicated campaigner on this issue. Every single life that's lost to knife crime devastates communities, and that's why we've banned zombie knives and ninja swords and have strengthened controls on online knife sales. Mr. Speaker, we're also giving stronger powers for police in our crime and policing bill, which both the Conservatives and Reform voted against.
Glover.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the recent privilege to visit Fitzwarren School in my Oxfordshire constituents, Didcot and Wantage, the only special school that we have, and see the excellent care and education that they provide. Given the urgent need for more funding for additional special schools and to enable special schools to spread their expertise to mainstream schools, what does the Prime Minister say to parents and education workers who are desperately worried by his government's decision announced last week to delay SEND reforms?
Well, I'm grateful for him raising this, and I think the broken SEND system is the issue that's been raised with me more frequently than any other issue at Prime Minister's questions. That's why we do need to review it. It's not working for any of those involved, particularly children and parents. It is important that we get it right, and insofar as we can, that we get a consensus about how we go forward, and that's what we're attempting to do.
Mr. Speaker, a fourth patient has entered the glioblastoma drug trial set up in memory of my late sister. Today, we are joined by Ben Trotman, a patient of a similar trial in 2022, funded by the John Moulton Foundation. Since then, Ben has married Emily, and in March they welcomed beautiful baby Mabel. Can I ask the Prime Minister when the National Institute for Health Research will spend the 40 million given in 2017 for trials on brain tumours? Or will glioblastoma patients always rely on the grief-stricken or philanthropist for life and hope?
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I begin by paying tribute to her sister Margaret, who was a guiding figure in the Labour Party, and the powerful legacy that she left in helping us to tackle brain cancer. We are determined to improve cancer survival rates and hit all NHS waiting times in relation to cancer, so no patient waits longer than they should. And that's why we're investing £1.5 billion in new surgical hubs and diagnostic scanners to help deliver over 30,000 more procedures and over 1.2 million diagnostic tests.
Final question, Caroline Limesland.
Mr. Speaker. I recently met around 20 independent local traders in Totnes who are furious that the last bank in town will close in January. And at Link have
so that was PMQs. Tom Harwood, I'm going to give you the prize. You predicted that Kemi Badenoch would go on the economy. She used all 6 questions to go on the economy. For analysis, we now go straight to Westminster Hall, where our political editor, Christopher Hope, has been watching from right inside the House of Commons. Wow. So, he didn't deny that tax could go up.
I thought that was very effective use by Kemi Badenoch of the 6 questions she gets each week as leader of the opposition. She asked the same question on July the 9th. Will you stick to your manifesto pledge, Prime Minister, not to increase income tax, VAT or national insurance? Of course, that means for employees, apparently, after the U-turn last November. He said yes. He won't say yes today. That is a big moment. No wonder Kemi Badenoch said simply, well, well, well. The headlines will write themselves. That is now a wide-open conversation in Westminster about which of those 3 big taxes the Chancellor sitting next to Prime Minister, Rachel Reeves, may put up on November 26th of the budget. A big moment there in Westminster, and of course right to go on 6 questions on the economy. The budget speculation has now fully started. Kemi Badenoch said why not cut welfare by 23 billion like we would do if the Tories got in. The PM avoided that question and said how these are many of the issues they're dealing with as a government go back to the 14 years of Tory rule. And just finally, my final takeaway was yet again Nigel Farage attacked by MPs, both by Sir Ed Davey, the Lib Dem leader, and Annalise Midgley, a Labour MP. He sat there resplendent in a blue suit, unable to reply. He's come back into the chamber after his strike last week because he got an early day motion about ECHR withdrawal to come out around 1:30. He'll be up in the chamber. He must be in the chamber to make that intervention, and that's why he was there. But we heard there, didn't we, from Ed Davey, asking about Nathan Gill, of course, a disgraced former leader of Reform UK in Wales. And the PM said this: Reform will present a Putin-friendly government. He said that twice. And that's because back in 2014, Nigel Farage did say that that he admired Vladimir Putin as a strong leader. Of course, back then, Vladimir Putin wasn't the pariah he is now. In fact, he met the Queen Elizabeth II shortly after Farage made those comments. But even so, they are hung round Farage's neck. Interesting, I think, how we are seeing increasing attacks despite Farage's complaints on Reform and him as a leader, because they're worried about the soaring lead of Reform UK.
Thanks indeed for bringing us that snap analysis there from the Westminster Hall. Delighted to say that in this studio here in Westminster, just the other side of Parliament Square, we're joined in the studio by the Labour MP for Burnley, Oliver Ryan, and the Conservative MP for the Isle of Wight East, Joe Robertson. Welcome to the programme, to the both of you. Let's start with you, Oliver, because Claudette has written in, and thank you to everyone who's sent in questions throughout the programme. Claudette says, I'm glad the Leader of the Opposition is finally talking about the economy. The economy seems to be at the forefront of a lot of people's concerns. And the Prime Minister refused to say that income tax would stay at the level that it is now.
Look, I think, you know, I'm not Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer isn't Rachel Reeves, the budget is on its way, and she can wait like everybody else can wait, right? But I'm glad that she's talking about the economy, because the economy is doing relatively well. From years of stagflation, inflation and stagnation, actually what we've seen now is more investment in our economy, more people being employed, more contracts for things like British businesses abroad. We're doing OK, but hopefully the budget will strengthen that.
Do you think people sitting at home watching this will feel like the economy's going gangbusters? I mean, you reading off those statistics just won't feel true to anyone.
No, I mean, that's completely fair. And I think this is the challenge that Rachel Reeves has got to tackle in the budget. We've got to tackle things like prices and pay. And ultimately, that's a challenge for her.
Just finally,
we are in a very different fiscal climate.
Why could the Prime Minister say that income tax is not going up back on July the 9th, whereas he couldn't say that today?
I mean, the fiscal situation changes week by week, right? It's a very difficult situation that Rachel finds herself in, as we all find ourselves in, because of the global economy, because of trends in Britain. And I think, you know, the Prime Minister is right to say, I'm not the Chancellor and we'll have to wait till November, as I will say today.
Joe Robertson from the Conservatives. Keir Starmer came back at Kemi Badenoch and said, we've already delivered the fastest growth in the G7, 5 interest rate cuts in a row, trade deals with the US, EU and India. You, broke the economy. We, Labour, are fixing it.
I mean, none of this is remotely attractive to people sitting at home who feel poorer and are watching a government that's just obsessed with the previous government. This is the current government, the Labour government, who've got to govern for the rest of the decade. And this is the pathetic responses we get. As we've just seen, they have not ruled out rises in income tax, national insurance or VAT. I suspect it's fairly obvious one or all of those are going to rise because they ruled it out in July. They're not ruling it out now.
20 or 30 billion pounds, somewhere between there is what Rachel Reeves is going to have to find. How would you find it?
Well, apparently the Prime Minister's not going to be involved, according to Oliver. It's all down to Rachel Reeves to find the money. But look, I would start with cutting the welfare bill. Labour tried to do that in the summer. The backbenchers rebelled, and in the end, they made no savings at all. I think we need to re-look at the whole way that welfare is delivered, because it's going to be over £100 billion spent on welfare.
Do you take any responsibility for the mess that your government left behind? 14 years. We talk about welfare cuts, right? Everybody wants to be able to cut the welfare budget. It all sounds great, but fundamentally, the welfare budget went up by £23 billion under your shadow chancellor.
Of course it did. It went up under COVID and under war in Europe. But look, I accept the verdict of the British people in 2024, right? They swept us out of power. I accept that. But goodness me, please take the responsibility that's been given to you by the British people and govern this country for the rest of the decade and do a good job and stop obsessing with the previous government.
They put you out of power.
You're obsessing with me answering questions. You're in government. You should be answering the questions, not asking them.
And that's just what you've done this week. £12 billion on stamp duty. Several billion pounds.
Well, we haven't done that because we're not in government.
No, you're telling people this is what you're going to do.
Labour are struggling to come to terms with the fact that
where are the cuts going to come from to fund it? Where are the cuts going to come from?
Welfare bill, bring down the welfare.
But you've already done that through your £23 billion for the NHS.
Let me ask you about that, because there'll be some people who are on disability benefits who will be listening or watching this. If you think that billions and billions of pounds is going to come from the welfare budget, are people who are claiming PIP, should they be worried if they're watching? Who should be worried?
So, the Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride, set out at our party conference just a few weeks ago £47 billion of savings. So that deals with your question about where do you find the billions. My view on the welfare reforms that the Labour government tried to bring in over the summer was that on two fronts, they didn't save enough money, but they were also very brutal and ham-fisted. And actually some people who are on benefits, who need to be on benefits, who are rightly on benefits, were set to lose out through an arbitrary cash grab.
But you want to go further than not those particular cuts that this government proposed, but you want to save, would have saved £5 billion. But you're saving, you can save much more than that. Therefore, we are right to assume that more people will lose their disability benefits.
Because what should happen...
Under Labour's proposals.
What should happen is when a new government comes in, they overhaul the welfare system because no set of rules lasts forever, which is exactly what we did in 2010. That's where universal credit PIP came from. Ian Duncan-Smith and David Cameron did a huge amount of work.
That took 6 years.
And we're doing the work in opposition now. Unfortunately, this government did absolutely no work in opposition, so they have no wholesale welfare plan.
Let's raise that question of what happened just before the summer, because a big proposal for reform was put before the House of Commons. It never actually came to a vote because it was so stripped down by the time that it came to the floor of the House of Commons. I mean, it looked like the Chancellor was not in control. The next week we saw the Chancellor crying on the front bench of the House of Commons.
A separate personal issue, but I have to say, I think everybody accepts that the welfare bill needs to be cut, right? If you went down the high street in Berlin...
Well, your colleagues clearly don't.
Well, no, my colleagues do. I mean, people accepted the bill that we put through, and I think...
Because it took out all of the cuts, it actually ended up spending
We
more.
will have to revisit this in Parliament.
How much did it deliver? How many savings did it deliver?
When we talk about 14 years of Tory... We don't say it as something just off the cuff. We say it because, actually, we're dealing with some of these big problems that were left behind it, and that includes things like worklessness and people on PIP and people on disability out of work.
So where were your plans for opposition? Where were your plans during these 14 years? You've been given the opportunity to now put in a Labour plan for the future. Where are those plans?
I mean, we're a year into government. We're on our second budget, right? If you can wait till November, which I know everybody's very keen to do, you'll see what we're going to do.
I think we're all pretty scared, actually. I think we're all pretty scared about the budget.
And we're making the right decisions.
OK, so that has been the budget discussion, but we've got a lot of questions on other topics too. Rory in Trowbridge.
We're going to come to them right after this short break. And it's on legal immigration.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. This Wednesday does bring a wet start across parts of the south and southeast. A day of sunshine and showers elsewhere, though it is going to be feeling cooler than it did yesterday. Taking a look at the bigger picture, and we've got low pressure situated to the north. This sweeps in this cold front across parts of the south and southeast, so that's where we're going to see the bulk of the cloud and also some spells of rain through most of the day, particularly across parts of Sussex and Kent, where it could turn quite heavy for a time. Elsewhere, there will be plenty of dry weather, though we can't rule out some showers, particularly across areas of the northwest, turning quite breezy here, and some of these showers could be heavy, perhaps even some hail and thunder, though this should be mostly isolated. Feeling cooler than yesterday, particularly under any prolonged spells of rain, highs only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius. Now, the rain will linger for a time across the very far southeast, eventually clearing through the course of the night. We'll see a mix of clear spells and also plenty of showers still pushing in from the west. These two at times could be quite blustery, if not quite heavy. Still plenty of cloud into the evening across parts of Scotland. There's still plenty of showers feeding in through the north. But as we progress further into the night, any rain, any showers will soon ease away. We'll see those winds lighten up too, allowing plenty of clear skies across the country. And with light winds and clear skies, that means it is going to be turning chilly. We'll likely see some patchy frost. This could be quite widespread across northern areas, and also some mist and fog by the time we reach the morning. So leading us into quite a chilly start as we head through the early hours of Friday. Many towns and cities, lows reaching around the mid to low teens, but many rural areas likely dropping below freezing. So a chilly but bright start for Thursday, and there should be plenty of sunshine around for the morning, eventually clouding over later through into the afternoon, and this cloud will bring spells of rain, particularly across Northern Ireland and western areas of England and Wales, pushing up into Scotland later, turning quite blustery too, particularly across Northern Ireland, and once again a fairly chilly day, highs reaching around 14 degrees.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Greater London, the M25 clockwise between junctions 25 and 26 has all lanes closed. In Hampshire, the A3 northbound between the A3M and A272 Petersfield South has a lane closed due to a broken down vehicle. In Wigan, an incident on the M6 southbound entry slip at junction 26 has closed all lanes. The A8 is closed in both directions between Kingston roundabout and Comet roundabout due to an incident, with signed diversions. And on the trains, Greater Anglia reports disruptions between Colchester, Braintree and Shenfield, while Northern buses replace trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back, and thank you so much for sending in so many brilliant questions for our panel, the Labour MP for Burnley, Oliver Ryan, and the Conservative MP for the Isle of Wight East, Joe Robertson.
Well, Oliver, let's start with you. Rory has written in to ask £500 paid to an illegal immigrant sex offender or £500 towards helping a UK pensioner keep warm this winter. It seems Rory is not happy with the payment to get this guy out of the country.
I think that's standard procedure, right, for these cases. But I have to say, this has just been the week of... it was just a cock-up, massive cock-up. I think everybody was fuming. You could see that the Justice Secretary and the Home Secretary were absolutely livid at this. My first question to the Minister was who's been sacked, because so much of this was just wrong from the start. But I'm glad to say now the guy has been deported, he's no longer on British soil, and this is good for Britain.
But why was he given a sweetheart goodbye? This man was a sex offender who committed sexual offences against a 14-year-old girl, and the British taxpayer has handed him a £500 goodbye.
There is a standard procedure for some of this, and I believe that's so that the case doesn't go to court later.
OK, let's put that point, because Hazel makes the point that £500 is nothing. He just needed to be gone. If he decided to fight it, it would have cost taxpayers potentially thousands. Just glad he's gone. Would you echo that, Joe Robertson, from the Conservatives?
No, I disagree with Hazel. £1 paid to a sex offender who shouldn't have been here in the first place is too much. You cannot have a standard procedure which pays money to sex offenders who shouldn't be here and who need to be deported. And we hear in this case, he wanted to go anyway. So we kept him here in prison and then sent him home with money. I mean, is he going to come back again? Because we've got cases of immigrants coming back again now, having been deported.
Longer delays, if we'd have had to keep him here longer, that's an alternative that you would take? Or how would you have got him out of the country without paying him the £500?
I would have deported him.
But he was going to get deported.
But what does this say to women and girls that we're giving illegal immigrants who are convicted of sex offences £500?
100%. Couldn't agree with you more. The argument that Hazel is making is, if we hadn't have done it, it may have cost the taxpayer thousands, and he would still be here. We just needed to get this person out of the country.
We don't know that. But I don't agree. What's the price next time? Sorry, what's the price next time for sexually assaulting a woman and girl of 14? £1,000? What if he'd negotiated £2,000? Would we just, it's only £2,000? It's madness. It's madness.
I mean, this is like
£1 is too much.
Posture. This is typical posture. Just get the guy out. Get the guy out. We've got the police into London. So what's the price of
sexual assault on a young girl?
If you have to pay him £500, you pay him £500. Get him out.
Really?
I don't want him on British soil. Do you want him on British soil for the next 6 months? I don't.
I don't want to pay sex offenders money.
I'll pay it myself. I'll pay it myself.
I don't want to
get the guy on a plane and
you
get him
can pay a sex offender money if you like. The British state shouldn't be.
Well, shall we end on one final question?
From Freddie, and this is one for you, Oliver Ryan. Very telling that Angela Rayner and Lucy Powell are sitting together at Prime Minister's Question Time. Can Starmer feel the point of the daggers yet? No. I mean, come on. There's a lot of unrest in your party.
No,
you know it. I know it.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, Lucy's a brilliant deputy leader. Angela was an amazing deputy. These are both like solid Labour women that wear their morals on their sleeves.
17 points in the opinion polls. No, there's no unrest. Everyone thinks it's going swimmingly.
No, I mean the Labour Party has always been a very broad church. I'm proud to be a member of that congregation.
And you're on 17 points too. Joe Robinson. So it's not. So even though they're losing votes, not to you, but we've got very, very short time to answer. Please do.
Look, I think I'll speak for us. We need to do a lot more, and we've started to try and convince the British people to vote for us again. It's up to us to do that, and it's no one else's job. It's ours.
OK, Joe Robertson, Oliver Ryan, thanks indeed for being with us here for Prime Minister's Questions on GB News. Don't move a muscle, though. You're stuck with me for the next 2 hours for Good Afternoon Britain with Nana Akua.
See you next week.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. This Wednesday does bring a wet start across parts of the south and southeast. A day of sunshine and showers elsewhere, though it is going to be feeling cooler than it did yesterday. Taking a look at the bigger picture, and we've got low pressure situated to the north. This sweeps in this cold front across parts of the south and southeast, so that's where we're going to see the bulk of the cloud and also some spells of rain through most of the day, particularly across parts of Sussex and Kent, where it could turn quite heavy for a time. Elsewhere, there will be plenty of dry weather, though we can't rule out some showers, particularly across areas of the northwest, turning quite breezy here, and some of these showers could be heavy, perhaps even some hail and thunder, though this should be mostly isolated. Feeling cooler than yesterday, particularly under any prolonged spells of rain, highs only reaching around 14 degrees Celsius. Now, the rain will linger for a time across the very far southeast, eventually clearing through the course of the night. We'll see a mix of clear spells and also plenty of showers still pushing in from the west. These two at times could be quite blustery, if not quite heavy. Still plenty of cloud into the evening across parts of Scotland. There's still plenty of showers feeding in through the north. But as we progress further into the night, any rain, any showers will soon ease away. We'll see those winds lighten up too, allowing plenty of clear skies across the country. And with light winds and clear skies, that means it is going to be turning chilly. We'll likely see some patchy frost. This could be quite widespread across northern areas, and also some mist and fog by the time we reach the morning. So leading us into quite a chilly start as we head through the early hours of Friday. Many towns and cities, lows reaching around the mid to low teens, but many rural areas likely dropping below freezing. So a chilly but bright start for Thursday, and there should be plenty of sunshine around for the morning, eventually clouding over later through into the afternoon, and this cloud will bring spells of rain, particularly across Northern Ireland and western areas of England and Wales, pushing up into Scotland later, turning quite blustery too, particularly across Northern Ireland, and once again a fairly chilly day, highs reaching around 14.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's